So, Will, what'd you think of Batman Cape Crusader?
I really enjoyed it. I had a good time watching it recently. I've been struggling to find myself engaged in what I've been watching, and so this was a breath of fresh air. It was nice to see Batman in an animated format again, an episodic animated format. I believe the last Batman animated show was Beware the Batman.
Can we not talk about that?
Yeah, which we don't have to talk about.
We'll talk about Brave and the Bold, which was a solid Adam West adaptation.
Yeah.
But I also agree. I think it was very well done. I think there was a lot of change that they did to it that really kept you engaged as a Batman fan that you just wouldn't expect from them. And they changed several main characters. Spoiler alert.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get into spoilers.
But several main characters are just either gender flipped or race flipped, or they're even just have different backstories entirely. And they throw different things at you, which I really enjoyed. Like, you don't see certain characters that you would normally see. Like, we don't see the normal Clayface. We see a different kind of version of Clayface, which I thought was really, really cool as well.
Yes, yeah. Different takes on these beloved characters, and I believe they all were pulled off successfully. These changes weren't made just for the sake of change. They had a purpose, and I thought it was really neat. Like how Barbara Gordon's a lawyer. She's not just the commissioner's daughter. She has her own identity and
she reminds me of Rachel in The Dark Knight, kind of. But like instead of being like buddy with Harvey, she's like the other, like the bull and
yeah, she's a public defender. Yeah. She doesn't work for the DA's office.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean Harvey, we can get into it.
Harvey's probably gonna take a lot of this.
Yeah. Well, feel free to.
I think talk about the setting. I think it's really cool that they kind of dive back to Batman's beginning in the 40s with his original costume, as well as setting the whole entire thing in the 40s. I think that was really, really cool stylistically.
Yeah. The Batcave is very low tech, which is cool. They use old phones, and there's not insane technology. The most advanced stuff you see Batman use, and it's because he has access to the cutting edge technology of the time, but it's nothing that we would consider cutting edge now. I thought that was really cool.
I also loved the emphasis with the detective knit part of this. I thought every single episode you got a detective element of Batman trying to solve it, especially in the second one, in the Two-Face episode, when he was doing all that, or not the Two-Face, the Clayface episode. I thought that was really well done with his detective work as well.
Yeah, it's always great to see the world's greatest detective be a detective. Yeah. That's why I'm so fond of The Batman by Matt Reeves with Robert Pattinson, because it really showcases his detective skills and his intelligence, which is something that I think is important when you're portraying Batman.
There were several very important people who in Batman and in DC who worked on this, such as Bruce Timm, who did the Batman the Animated Series. You had Matt Reeves, who worked on the Batman, and then even James Gunn worked on it. He's working on the entire DC universe now. So there was a lot of heavy hitters who came in part of this, and I thought they did a really good job of not only feeling like almost like a revival of the animated series, but also like a darker version as well. There was a lot of darker storylines that probably wouldn't have happened in the original animated series that we got to see now.
Yeah, that's the darker tone was something I appreciated because I had just finished watching My Adventures with Superman, which is another great DC animated show that's on right now, but it's very hopeful, as Superman should be.
Yes.
So it was a nice change of pace to go from that to this, seeing Batman dark and gritty, but still moments of levity in there.
I also really enjoyed the Bruce and Batman dynamic that there was. There was Bruce Wayne, and then there was Batman. There wasn't Batman who was Bruce Wayne. And it was really cool. As soon as he got outside of the public image, his voice swapped every single time to Batman voice.
Yeah.
Now it was really cool because Batman's not the mask. Bruce Wayne's the mask.
Yeah. And yeah, like when he's in the car with Alfred, when it's just them two, he's using his Batman voice, even though he looks like Bruce Wayne. And he's always in the bat suit in the Batcave. And he calls Alfred Pennyworth, which is another unique thing about this. He doesn't have as much respect for Alfred as he traditionally does, but as the show progresses, he realizes he faltered there. He should have been more keen. He obviously cares about him, but the respect that he gives Alfred is part of his character growth.
Yes, I think Alfred's probably one of his most important parts of character growth, where in one of the final episodes, whenever Harvey's going on his tangent and Bruce started it, even Alfred sat down and was like, you did that to your friend. How could you do this? How could you do this? And Bruce is like very Batman-y and just saying like, I did what had to be done.
Yeah, like I needed the information.
Exactly. And so I thought Alfred, it was very much so, like he always is, Bruce is, more so than ever, I would say, Bruce's emotional support and all of Bruce's emotions. And it showed very well in the Gentleman Ghost episode when Ghost takes over Alfred and Bruce just cannot take him down. And even Alfred's telling him to. At the end, he says that he needs Alfred. He can't be Batman without Alfred.
He's like, I can't do this job without you. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I know, Master Bruce. And, you know, that's his surrogate father, you know. And I'm glad that part of the relationship wasn't changed. But I kind of liked how Bruce was, you see this Batman fail. He's still learning.
In the very first episode.
Yeah, and he's like, I need to be better. Mm-hmm. And so it's not this peak, perfect, flawless Batman, which I think adds some character to it.
I agree. It took a lot of elements from year one, from the Batman year one storyline, from different things, from the cops trying to catch Batman to different storylines at the end with Jim Gordon and him finally getting a little bit of trust. I also thought that the Gentleman Ghost episode was really, really good. Because they could have definitely, like Batman said in the episode, it could have been a guy in a mask.
Yeah.
And the fact that they did do a supernatural episode so early on is so crucial for Batman, because he has always been a skeptic of if it's real or not. But he's never been a person to sit there and say it's not real and you're not going to be able to change my mind. Yeah. He's always asking questions. And if he doesn't know something, he'll find the guy who does.
Yeah, exactly. He's always preparing himself to be the best at every facet of the world. And so if there's something unfamiliar to him, he doesn't ignore it. He accepts that there's room to grow and learn and seeks those answers. And like you said, this Gentleman Ghost episode was the perfect chance to showcase that, because we talked about it off camera, but I thought it was just going to be some crazy advanced technology, and it was just, that's all there was to it. But the fact that they leaned into the supernatural angle this early in Batman's career, this early in the show's runtime, I thought was really impressive and was a bold move that I think paid off.
Yeah, I agree as well. I thought it was very well done. I don't know if you knew who the guy, the wizard guy who helped him was.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I looked it up. His name is Papa Midnight. Apparently
he's a Constantine.
Yeah, he's a Constantine villain, which you know Batman and Constantine usually will team up on these kind of like magic kind of things. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see if Constantine maybe makes an appearance in season 2.
Constantine or Zatanna.
Zatanna is also always linked to Batman as well. Yeah. So it would be interesting if we saw like a magic villain or magic hero assist maybe in season 2 with Papa Midnight. I want to talk about the couple Easter eggs that we saw. I don't know if you saw it in the 8th episode before the little last 2-parter with the crazy girl, the one who like sucked people's lives out of them, like from the kids. She only wanted kids though for some reason, but she was sucking their life. But did you actually note the names of the kids?
Yes, yeah, I did. I noticed that we had Jace, who his full name was Jason. We had little Dickie, Dick Grayson. We had Carrie, I believe Carrie Kelly.
Yeah, and
Stephanie Brown, little Steph.
So I thought that was a really cool little Easter egg. It'll be interesting to see if maybe season 2 we see Batman adopt some of those orphans, because he is part of that.
Yeah, and the orphanage was run by Leslie Tompkins, who also has a history with Batman and is usually
knows his identity.
Yeah, knows his identity typically. So yeah, it was really cool seeing all of them. And these, by the way, these names may not be familiar to you, but they're different Robins.
Yes. And so it was really cool that you just kind of like in a scene that, my personal opinion, I wasn't one of my favorite episodes for me for the season, just because I didn't really understand the villain. I didn't know who she was. But I really enjoyed all the Easter eggs in that episode. And I also kind of enjoyed obviously the what was her name again? The orphanage person.
Leslie Tompkins.
Yes, I enjoyed her cameo as well. I thought that was really well done. Another thing we should talk about is Harley's new backstory, where she's friends with Barbara Gordon and a psychiatrist, not for Arkham, but for all the wealthy people in Gotham.
Yeah. I thought that was a very interesting take. And she's not defined or related to the Joker in any way. Yes. She's her own villain, her own character.
Which I will say, if anyone's allowed to change Harley's backstory, it should be Bruce Timm. So I think it was very well done, and it's a really cool take on if Harley was one of Batman's original villains. Mm-hmm. And I think it's cool that how at one point that Batman has to go as Bruce Wayne to see her, and she has him figured out that he has this two-person facade and that he's Bruce Wayne's essentially just fake. Yeah. And I thought that was really cool. And if he had continued those
sessions,
I'm curious to see where that would have went.
Yeah, me too. I thought about that as well. And at the end of I think it's framed as the first session, he steals that file and it just has a sticky note with a smiley face. And it's like, see you at our next session. Yeah. So she's almost there to putting the pieces together. Yes.
And I think it's funny that Bruce kind of thinks that she's just crazy and she doesn't know, kind of almost on that last session. She's clueless. She doesn't know me. And when honestly, I think 2 more sessions, she might have found out, to be honest. But also, we always obviously talk about the Penguin change because that's another controversial topic. So how did you feel about that?
I had seen, because I believe they announced at Comic-Con that Minnie Driver was going to be voicing the Penguin and playing the Penguin. And I saw a lot of uproar online. I was going to wait to see until, I saw this interpretation myself, and I think they really nailed it.
Yeah.
I wasn't upset with the gender swap. I think it added to the character because this Penguin's more confident. We see her singing for the denizens of the Iceberg Lounge, and usually Penguin is more
isolated. He's kind of usually uglier.
And short as well. This Penguin has stature.
Yeah.
And she has 2 sons, which adds to her identity.
Actually, because she killed one, remember?
Oh, true, yeah.
So I think she might have a bunch of sons, and that's like kind of how her organization works. Because she's like the mama, you know what I mean? Like you have the mama kind of archetype in the mob boss group.
Yeah,
and so that was an interesting thing that Batman doesn't have.
Yeah, and that reminded me of a Batman Beyond episode, another show created by Bruce Timm, with Ma Mayhem and her 2 sons. Mm-hmm. And I feel like maybe he was inspired by what he'd done in the past, but applying it to, a fan favorite character. And I think it really paid off.
I agree. At first I was shook. I didn't realize until like halfway through the episode that was Penguin. And then I was like, oh, okay, now I need to pay attention now. And so I really started like watching. And then as soon as I started watching like the episode, the first one, I was like, oh, okay, this is really well done. I didn't dislike it very much. It was more of I feel like they could have done. I feel like it was a little more of a shock factor kind of thing. People for the first episode, so you could sit there and be like, well, if they change Penguin, what else is going? Yeah, what else are they going to change? Right?
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that being a decision they made for the pilot to be like, what can we do to draw people in? And also in that pilot, going back to what you talked about, with regards to it being an homage to Batman's very first appearance, she has a giant cannon on her ship that's hidden under an umbrella.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very classic comic book, cheesy kind of trope, but it works.
Yes. This entire show just feels like the 40s comic kind of slapped on to the screen with the animated series animation and direction. It's very well done if you're a very classic Batman fan. If you enjoy those old comics, you're going to really enjoy this.
Well, you mentioned the animation.
Yes.
Just first off, the animation's beautiful. I just want to say that it's nice to look at. It's pretty.
The kind of like the color, like the drawing art style, kind of from the title screens from the original animated series, kind of comes back in the intro sequence.
Yeah.
If you saw that.
Yeah.
I thought that was really nice. Well done.
Yeah, the opening credits are a little different each episode with scenes from the episode, which I thought was a nice touch.
I always love it when shows do that.
Yeah, it's
It's like, remember them when the Justice League show would do that? They'd show you clips of the episode.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that. But you were about to talk about Clayface.
Yes, I really enjoyed the Clayface switch because I knew it was going to be Clayface, obviously, because the episode was talking about this person taking on other identities and stuff.
As soon as his name showed on the door, like Basil, I forget his last name.
Carlo.
Basil. Yeah, I was like, oh, I know that's Clayface's name. And
they went with the original version of Clayface, which I thought was really cool because everyone was definitely expecting the big mud dude.
Yeah.
And they didn't get that. They got this guy was just deformed and just kind of looked like a mangled face, more so with like a little desperado bandana.
Yeah, I liked the bandana.
The bandana was really nice. I thought his style was really well done. And he's not really. It was a really good episode to display Batman's detective skills because it's not a villain that you are fighting and having to put up a physical fight against. It's a villain you have to figure out who done it.
You have to figure out who they are.
Yeah.
Because they can take on these different personas.
Whenever the reveal happened that the people that Batman had talked to were dead and they were in the I was really shook. I was like, we're there. I guess we'll talk about Two-Face now because that's going to be probably we're going to take up most of our little episode here.
Yeah. So Harvey Dent, before his transformation into Two-Face, is very different from the Harvey Dent that we have seen across multiple medias. He's not this pure white knight that he often is that falls. He's kind of more slimy. I guess
he's willing to go between the lines.
Yes.
Several times.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they made Barbara the lawyer, is so she could be the White Knight and to go up against him consistently. And there's several times in the early episodes where they're both going at it because Harvey will give linear sentence to certain people, but not other people. And Barbara doesn't think it's fair. And Harvey's just like, it's the game.
Yeah.
And so Harvey's only in it for the mayoral campaign.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing that's very different than normal whenever the mayoral campaign is because he wants to help people.
Yeah.
Which he says several times he's doing it to help people.
You see glimpses of that white knight in his actions.
Yes. But it's very, very skewed and very hidden behind the sleaze bag.
Yeah. He's aware of how Gotham works and he's willing to play the game.
Yes. And I thought the Two-Face episodes were very well done. I thought with Thorpe being kind of like the overall mob boss villain, I do think that Thorpe could have been more involved in the episodes, which is honestly one of my negatives is really that I feel like this should have been longer. Mm-hmm. I feel like if they gave me 10 episodes now and then they said the second part of season 1 comes out in a month or two, another 10, I would be a little more satisfied because I really feel like they have, because if you wanted to call this 10 episode like an arc, this arc would be the Two-Face arc. And I would say the saga that they're going to go for would be the Thorpe. Going after Thorpe and all the mob bosses, because that's kind of where they're going with the Penguin, and they were talking about Thorpe in almost multiple episodes. I really feel like if we had gotten to 20 episodes, like the episode where they take off at the Dent's carnival thing, where the kids get kidnapped, I feel like that I would have disliked that episode less if I had 20 episodes, and that was one of 20 episodes where I had several more episodes to focus on this Thorpe storyline or the Dent storyline as well.
Yeah, I saw those criticisms, or not exactly, but similar criticisms online about how the season felt kind of unfocused, how part of it is, the new villain for the new episode. And then they try at the end to do continuous episodes with the same arc and how it didn't work for them. I still felt like it was cohesive enough for me to follow, but I can see how going from the villain of the week format to continuous episodes could be a little jarring. And because they did that split, both maybe feel lacking in certain areas. Whereas if they just focused on one or the other, maybe it would have been more fulfilling.
Yeah. I think that if they had done 10 episodic episodes with a different villain every week, I feel like it would have been a little flat. So they did need that overarching kind of story with either Two-Face or Thorpe. But I feel like they should have introduced Thorpe, had him in very, very background, had him do the Two-Face thing at the end, and then the next season, right? It's about because Batman at the very, very end, Batman throws the Batarang and it clips his ear and basically says, "I can take you out anytime I want to, bud."
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it the right way.
That was a great shot to end on.
That was excellent. And then the post-credit scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so we hear some maniacal laughter, and we pan into this small shack, and we see dead bodies that have been manipulated to have giant grins on their faces. What does this make you think of?
well, that's the only one thing I could think of.
Oh, yeah?
The Joker.
Yeah, the Joker. And you follow along to the last body who's still alive, laughing maniacally, and you hear the Joker say, or you hear somebody say, like, yes, this works, or like, yeah,
This is the one.
this is the one. And then we see a glimpse of the character, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's the Joker.
So how did you feel about his voice in the little bit we got?
I was a little taken back because he sounds very sane and monotone.
I think it's going to be one of those things where he's going to be one of like a Joker because I think if the Batman the animated series, that Joker was just crazy, right? There wasn't more or less a method to that madness. This Joker is going to be a method to his madness, and so it'll be kind of like Heath Ledger Joker, where like everything he does it's crazy in the moment, but it all dominoes together.
Yeah.
And so I really like the voice. I thought he looked good. I think it's going to be very interesting to see where they go. I'm hoping for at least 2 Joker episodes next season. I think, you tease him, you got to give me him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think he's very much like the first appearance of Batman is shown in this show. Mm-hmm. This is going to be like the first appearance of Joker, where he's still a psychopath, but he's more calculated.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've read the comic Batman 3 Jokers or have heard about it, but Batman interacts with 3 different Jokers that have been claiming had been the Joker this whole time. Like each one thinks they're the real one, but they've been switching out across Batman's history allegedly. But each Joker rather represents a different era of Batman's history. And so one of them is called the Criminal, and he's more calculated and suave and not as crazy and looks more like the design in this. Mm-hmm. And so I imagine they're going to go in that direction.
I would assume so, because they do a lot of early things. So they don't do Firefly, they do Firebug. Mm-hmm. They do give the Catwoman her original outfit as well.
Oh yeah, that was a nice touch.
I really enjoyed that. Personally, my favorite scene is the very first scene of that episode when the pearls are on display. Mm-hmm. And there's in their museum, and Catwoman comes next to Bruce, and she's talking about stealing the pearls, right? And a reporter comes by, and he's taking pictures, and he goes, well, "What did she think she was doing? Just being in an alleyway in downtown Gotham, wearing that?" And Bruce comes out of nowhere and just
clocks him,
decks him, which starts him meeting Harley and going through that as well.
Yeah,
which
was a great catalyst for the plot, and. My favorite moment was probably on the episode with the carnival, which, again, wasn't one of our favorite episodes, but it had a really great moment where Carrie is like, you don't have to save her. Like, she's a monster. Mm-hmm. And he's like, but I do. And he saves her, and then they walk towards the carnival, and Carrie puts her little hand up and holds his cape as they're walking back to the carnival.
That was a really good scene as well. That reminded me of kind of like the Ace scene with the Justice League.
And that's what I was getting from that whole episode too. Like, she very much reminded me of Ace.
I thought that was probably my favorite part of the whole episode. I don't know what it was. I think there was a lot of good episodes, and I think that's why I dislike that one so much. I don't dislike it a lot, just not my favorite of the 10.
Yeah.
There was a couple more little cameos. We had Deadshot and Onomatopoeia.
Oh, yeah.
And the episode where they're hunting down... everyone thinks they're going after Jim, but actually they're going after Barbara.
That was a nice little twist.
Yes.
And also, I don't know if you noticed this, the cop with the red hair, Jim Corrigan, he's the Spectre.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that somewhere. So that'll be really interesting to see if he actually takes on that role.
Yeah, maybe we'll see that in the next supernatural arc with Papa Midnight, maybe something with the Spectre and
that would be really
him having to become the Spectre to avenge or right the wrongs that he made.
Yeah, I think that'd be really, really cool as well.
But Automatopoeia was really cool because a lesser known villain, but I thought it was really fit the aesthetic.
Yes, I didn't even realize he was an actual villain. I just thought he was just like a cool guy with a little like thing. So when I was reading about this and I saw he was real, I was just like, oh, that's pretty cool. It was like a nice little nod for those people, like really diehard fans.
Yeah.
Which is really what this show is about. Is it just a nod after nod after nod to other Batman media and other Batman sources, like the entire thing.
It's a giant love letter.
Yes, it really is. I'm really excited for season 2. I don't know about you.
Oh, I am. I'm eagerly awaiting the drop.
We've talked a little bit about how Hamish Linklater did.
Oh yeah, he's phenomenal. He voices Bruce Wayne and Batman, and as we talked about earlier, he uses different voice tones and like vocal inflections when he plays both these characters. And I think that's a brilliant touch. We saw that with Kevin Conroy in Batman the Animated Series, but it's been a while since we've seen something like that.
Yeah, because in Brave and the Bold, there was no Bruce, so you never got to see that. And even in the Batman, it felt like he really wasn't like a different person. He just kind of was like a very generic billionaire kind of person. And so with this, he got a lot more depth as a character as well, not just being the billionaire. He had a lot more other things. He cared about the orphans as well as obviously punching that reporter.
Yeah, yeah. It brought a lot of life to both identities, and I think he did a great job. I haven't seen him in anything. I know he's in Midnight Mass, which I've heard is a really great show. So this was my first introduction to him as an actor, and I think he nailed it.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job, and I hope that they continue to use him because I really, really love the duality of the character that he creates with it. I think it does a really good job.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I think we covered it all. Obviously, animation is very difficult and time-consuming process, but when you don't use it to its full capabilities, it feels like this project is lessened, and this pushes every staple of animation to the forefront, like great backdrops, great character design, fluid motion, unique shots, as you mentioned. It just really captures the world of Batman perfectly and does justice to the animated medium.
I agree. Well, guys, that's all we have time for today. Thank you all for joining us on the Media Man podcast. We'll see y'all next time.